They don't test everyone. So if you've been tested, it means something about you stands out. You didn't just click on this video by accident. Something pulled you here. Maybe you don't even know why yet. Maybe you just felt it, that quiet nudge, that strange sense that this, right here, matters. Because lately something has been happening to you, hasn't it? Something you can't fully explain. People acting different around you. Situations shifting without warning. Energy changing the moment you walk into a room. And you've been asking yourself, why? Why do people suddenly challenge you for no reason? Why do conversations feel like hidden tests, like traps disguised as normal moments? Why do certain people watch you study you, like they're trying to figure something out about you? You feel it, don't you? That subtle pressure, that invisible spotlight. As if you're being observed, not just seen, but examined. And the strangest part, it's not always obvious. Sometimes it's in the way someone questions you, not to understand you, but to provoke you. Sometimes it's in the way they doubt you, even when you've given them no reason to. Sometimes it's the sudden shift, from friendliness to cold distance, without explanation. And you sit there thinking, did I do something wrong? Did I say something? Why does this keep happening to me? But deep down, you already know the truth. This isn't random. This isn't coincidence. And this isn't happening to everyone. It's happening to you. Because there is something about you. Something you may not fully understand yet. Something others can feel, even if they can't explain it. And that feeling triggers something in them. It makes them uncomfortable. It makes them curious. It makes them test you. Yes, test you. Not always consciously, not always intentionally, but instinctively. Because your presence carries something different, something rare, something that doesn't fit into their expectations, their patterns, their control. And when people can't understand something, they don't just accept it. They challenge it. They question it. They try to break it, just to see what it really is. So when someone suddenly doubts you, when someone pushes your buttons out of nowhere, when someone treats you like a puzzle they need to solve, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're unfamiliar to them. And unfamiliar things make people react in strange ways. But let's go deeper, because this isn't just about people. It's about what's happening inside you. Lately, you've been feeling different too, haven't you? More aware, more sensitive, more observant. You notice things others don't. You feel energy shifts before anything is even said. You sense intentions, even when people try to hide them. And that's where the confusion begins. Because while you're becoming more aware, the world around you starts to feel more unpredictable, more intense, more targeted. You start wondering, why does it feel like I'm always being tested? Why do people come into my life just to challenge me, then disappear? Why do I feel like I'm constantly being pushed emotionally, mentally, spiritually? And sometimes it gets heavy. Sometimes you sit alone, replaying moments in your mind, trying to make sense of it all, trying to understand people's behavior, trying to figure out what you did or didn't do. But what if? You're asking the wrong question. What if it's not? Why are they treating me this way? But instead, what is this trying to reveal about me? Because every test, every strange interaction, every moment of confusion isn't random. It's revealing something. Not about them, but about you, your patience, your boundaries, your strength, your awareness, and most importantly, your identity. Because when you are stepping into something greater, life doesn't just hand it to you. It tests you into it. It puts you in situations where you have to choose. Will you react, or will you understand? Will you shrink, or will you rise? Will you doubt yourself, or will you start seeing the pattern? And that's where everything begins to change. The moment you stop seeing these experiences as attacks, and start seeing them as signals. Signals that you're not ordinary. Signals that you're moving differently. Signals that something within you is waking up. Because let's be honest, not everyone feels what you feel. Not everyone notices what you notice. Not everyone questions reality the way you do. Most people move with the flow. They don't stop to ask, why is this happening? But you do. And that's what makes you different. That's what makes you chosen. Not chosen in a way that makes you better than others, but chosen in a way that means you are aware. Aware of energy, aware of patterns, aware of truth, even when it's hidden. And awareness comes with a price. It means you can't ignore things anymore. It means you can't go back to being unconscious, comfortable, unaware. It means you start seeing through people, even when you don't want to. And that's why people react to you the way they do. Because your presence forces things to surface. Truths, insecurities, intentions. Things they may not even be ready to face themselves. So they project, they test, they challenge. Not because of who you are on the surface, but because of what you trigger within them. And now, you're standing at a point where you have to decide. Will you keep questioning yourself? Or will you start trusting what you feel? Will you keep shrinking to make others comfortable? Or will you step into the truth, even if it makes others uncomfortable? Because this journey, this strange, confusing, intense experience you're going through, it's not here to break you. It's here to reveal you. Piece by piece, moment by moment, test by test. And the more you begin to understand that, the less confused you'll feel. The less personal it will become. And the more powerful you will realize you actually are. So if you've been feeling targeted, watched, tested, challenged for no reason, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what if this isn't happening to me, but happening for me? What if every strange interaction, every unexpected challenge, every moment that made you question everything, was actually guiding you, awakening you, preparing you for something you haven't fully stepped into yet? Because you're not here by accident. And this feeling you can't explain, this pressure you can't ignore, this awareness you didn't ask for, it all means something. You're not imagining it. You're not overthinking it. You're not too sensitive. You're tuning in. And once you truly understand that, everything changes. Because the tests don't stop. But you do. You stop reacting blindly. You stop questioning your worth. You stop shrinking. And you start seeing exactly what this has all been about. But that's just the beginning. Because when they test you, something always follows. Tests are never random. They are reactions to your energy. There's something you've been noticing lately. Something subtle, but impossible to ignore. It's not loud. It's not obvious. But it's there. In the way people look at you. Just a second longer than normal. In the way conversations suddenly shift when you enter the room. In the way certain people seem to change around you. And you've been asking yourself, what is this? Why does it feel like people are reacting to you before you even say a word? Why does it feel like you're being measured, weighed, evaluated, without permission? Listen carefully, because this is where everything starts to make sense. People can sense your energy, not logically, not consciously, but instinctively. There's something about your presence, something unspoken, something that doesn't need words to be felt. It's in your awareness. It's in your silence. It's in the way you observe instead of react. And that alone makes people uncomfortable. Because most people are used to predictable energy. They're used to reactions they can control, emotions they can read easily, people they can categorize within seconds. But you don't fit into those patterns. And when someone can't understand you, they don't relax. They don't accept it. They start to test it. They test you, in small ways at first. A comment that feels slightly off, a joke that carries a hidden edge, a question that isn't really a question, but a probe. They test you to see how you respond under pressure. They test you, to see if you'll break character, if you'll lose your composure, if you'll reveal something they can finally label, define, control. And when you don't react the way they expect, something shifts. Because now, it's not just curiosity anymore. It becomes intimidation. Yes, intimidation, even if they don't realize it themselves. Because your calmness feels like strength. Your silence feels like awareness. Your presence feels like something they can't access. And that creates tension. A quiet internal tension within them. So what do? They push harder. They test you. Again. A little more direct this time. A little more personal. A little more intentional. They test you. Because they're trying to understand what you are. Not who you are. But what you are. Why you don't react like others. Why you don't get pulled into drama. Why their usual tactics don't seem to work on you. And while all of this is happening, you feel it. You feel the shift in tone. You feel the hidden intention behind words. You feel the weight behind their presence. And it leaves you wondering, why does this keep happening to me? But here's the truth: most people never realize it. These tests are not random. They are intentional, not always consciously planned, but deeply rooted in human instinct. Because when someone senses something different, something they can't control, their natural response is to challenge it, to provoke it, to see if it's real or just an illusion. So they watch you closely. They watch you when you think no one is paying attention. They watch how you handle stress. They watch how you respond to disrespect. They watch how you carry yourself when things don't go your way. They watch you, not because they admire you, but because they're trying to figure you out. And while they're watching, they're waiting. They wait for your reaction. That one moment where you slip. That one moment where you become like everyone else. That one moment where your energy drops, and they can finally understand you. They wait for your reaction. Because your reaction is information. It tells them who you are. It tells them how far they can go with you. It tells them whether you're strong or just pretending. But here's what they don't realize. Your awareness is ahead of their actions. You see it. You feel it. Even when it's subtle. Even when it's disguised as something harmless. And that's where the real shift happens. Because once you become aware of the pattern, you stop taking it personally. You stop asking, why are they doing this to me? And you start understanding. They're revealing themselves to me. Every test reveals intention. Every provocation reveals insecurity. Every subtle push reveals their internal state. Because confident people don't need to test others. Secure people don't need to provoke reactions. People who are at peace with themselves don't feel the need to challenge what they don't understand. But those who are unsure, those who feel something they can't explain, those who are triggered by your presence, they test you again and again and again. They test you, hoping to bring you down to a level they can understand. They test you, hoping to find a weakness they can hold on to. They test you because your strength reminds them of something they haven't yet found in themselves. And this is why your journey feels so intense. Because you're not just living life. You're navigating energy. You're walking into rooms where people feel you before they know you. You're interacting with individuals who respond to you based on instinct, not logic. And that comes with pressure. It comes with confusion. It comes with moments where you question everything. But it also comes with clarity, if you're willing to see it. Because these tests, they're not here to break you. They're here to reveal you. To show you how grounded you really are. To show you how much control you have over your emotions. To show you whether you're reacting or responding. Every time someone tries to provoke you, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to observe instead of react. An opportunity to stay centered, instead of being pulled out of your energy. an opportunity to see clearly instead of emotionally. And the more you pass these tests, the more something incredible happens. People stop trying, not because they suddenly understand you, but because they realize they can't. They can't shake you. They can't define you. They can't control you. And that's when respect quietly replaces resistance. But until then, they will keep testing. They will keep watching. They will keep waiting for your reaction. So the question is, what will you give them? Will you give them the reaction they're expecting? Or will you give them something they can't explain? Because that choice, that moment, that awareness, is what separates who you were from who you're becoming. And once you truly understand that, you won't fear the tests anymore. You'll recognize them. You'll anticipate them. And most importantly, you'll rise above them every single time. And every test triggers a pattern most people never notice. The first signs appear immediately, but only if you're aware. There's a moment. You've felt it before. You walk into a room. Nothing unusual. Nothing dramatic. Just another ordinary space. People are talking, laughing, moving like everything is normal. And then, something shifts. Not loudly, not visibly, but deeply. You can't point to it, you can't explain it, but you feel it. Right there in your chest, in the air, in the silence that suddenly feels heavier. Nothing was said, but everything changed. And in that moment, you realize something you've felt many times before. This isn't random. This is the beginning. Because whenever you step into a space, carrying the energy you carry, there are always signs, always patterns, always three things that follow. The first, the energy shifts in the room. It's subtle at first, so subtle, most people would miss it completely. But you don't. Because you're not just seeing the room, you're feeling it. The tone changes. The rhythm breaks. The atmosphere tightens just a little. It's like the space itself becomes aware of you. Conversations slow down just slightly. Voices drop just a little. Movements become a bit more intentional. Nothing obvious. Nothing you could call out. But enough for you to pause internally and think, did something just change? And the answer is, yes, it did. You felt it before you understood it. Because energy doesn't need words. It doesn't need announcements. It just moves. And when your energy enters a space, it doesn't blend in. It alters it. Not because you're trying to. Not because you're doing anything consciously. But because what you carry is different. And difference creates movement. It disrupts patterns. It breaks the invisible flow people are used to. And even if no one acknowledges it, everyone feels it. That's the first sign. The shift. The moment where everything is still the same, but somehow completely different. And then, the second thing begins. People start acting differently. This is where it becomes harder to ignore. Because now, it's not just a feeling, it's behavior. You notice it in the way someone looks at you, a glance that lingers just a second too long. You notice it in the way someone avoids eye contact, like they don't want to engage, but can't fully ignore you either. You notice it in the sudden change in tone. Someone who was loud becomes quiet. Someone who was relaxed becomes tense. Someone who was friendly becomes distant without reason. And you're left thinking, what did I do? But that's the illusion. Because you didn't do anything. You simply arrived, and your presence alone triggered a reaction. Some people become curious. They start observing you, trying to understand you. Some people become guarded. They pull back as if protecting something. Some people become performative. They talk louder, act bigger, try harder to be noticed. And some become uncomfortable. Not because of anything you've said, but because of something they feel. Something they can't explain. And that's where the confusion grows. Because from your perspective, nothing logical has happened. No conflict, no disagreement, no reason for change. Nothing was said, but everything changed. And yet, the room is no longer the same. People are no longer the same. The energy has already shifted and now behavior is following it. But it doesn't stop there, because the third thing is the one you feel the most, the one that stays with you, the one that makes you question everything. Tension without explanation. It creeps in quietly, almost like a shadow. You feel it in the pauses between words, in the spaces between interactions, in the silence that suddenly feels loaded. You're standing there, present aware, and yet something feels off. Not dangerous, not aggressive, but tight, uncomfortable, like something is being held back. Like there's something unspoken sitting right beneath the surface, and you can't ignore it because your awareness won't let you. You start scanning the room, not with your eyes, but with your intuition, trying to understand, where is this coming from? But there's no clear source, no single person you can point to. It's just there, in the air, in the way people move around you, in the way conversations feel slightly forced, in the way silence feels heavier than it should. You feel it before you understand it, and that's what makes it so unsettling, because you're experiencing something real, without having a logical explanation for it, and that creates a question inside you. Is it me? But here's the truth. It's not you in the way you think. It's what you carry, because when your presence enters a space, it doesn't just exist. It reveals. It brings things to the surface. Without trying, it exposes dynamics. It highlights insecurities. It disrupts masks people didn't even realize they were wearing. And when that happens, tension is inevitable, because not everyone is ready to feel what they feel around you. Not everyone is comfortable with the awareness you bring into a space, so the room tightens. People shift, energy moves, and you're left standing in the middle of it, feeling everything, understanding pieces of it, but not always having the full picture. And that's where your strength begins to form. Because most people would ignore it, most people would dismiss it, avoid it, distract themselves from it. But you notice, you question, you feel. And that's why this experience keeps repeating. Because it's not just about the room, it's about your awareness within it. Every time the energy shifts, every time people start acting differently, every time that unexplainable tension appears, you're being shown something, not about them, but about your impact, about your presence, about the way your energy interacts with the world around you. And the more you begin to understand that, the less confusing it becomes, the less personal it feels, and the more powerful it reveals you to be. Because now, you're not just reacting to the room, you're reading it. You're not just feeling the tension, you're understanding it. And you're not just wondering why things change, you're recognizing that your presence is the reason they do. So the next time it happens, and it will, pause. Don't rush to explain it. Don't rush to question yourself. Just observe, feel the shift, notice the behavior, acknowledge the tension, and remind yourself, nothing was said, but everything changed. And somehow, you already knew it would. But that's only the surface, it goes deeper. Now the deeper shift begins within you. Something has been changing inside you. Not all at once, not in a way you could clearly explain to someone else, but slowly, quietly, undeniably. And it didn't start out feeling powerful. It started with confusion, with moments that didn't make sense, with people who triggered something in you out of nowhere, with situations that felt heavier than they should have. And at first, you thought it was just emotion, just stress, just overthinking. But now, you're starting to realize it was something deeper, because every time you were tested, something inside you responded, not just on the surface, but within. And that's where the real change began. It begins with emotional triggers. Those moments that hit you harder than expected. A tone in someone's voice, a look that feels slightly off, a comment that lingers in your mind longer than it should. And suddenly, you feel something rise inside you. frustration, confusion, even anger or sadness. And you don't always understand why you feel it. Before you can explain it, you feel it. Before logic has time to catch up, you feel it, and it shakes something loose inside you. But here's what's different now. You don't just react the way you used to. You notice it the moment it starts, that shift in your chest, that tightening in your thoughts, that pull toward reacting impulsively. You notice it, and instead of immediately acting on it, you pause. Even if it's just for a second, even if it's uncomfortable, even if everything inside you wants to respond, you pause. Because something inside you is becoming aware, and that awareness changes everything. You start asking different questions. Not, why did they do that to me? Why did that affect me so deeply? You notice it, the patterns, the same kinds of situations, the same kinds of people, the same emotional responses, repeating, not randomly, but consistently. And that's when you realize these triggers aren't just reactions, they're reflections. Reflections of something within you that is being brought to the surface, something that was always there, but hidden, ignored, unexamined. Until now, you can't ignore it. No matter how much you try to move past it, no matter how much you tell yourself it's not a big deal. Because every time it happens, it feels intentional, precise, like it's pointing directly at something you need to see. And the more you face it, the more something inside you begins to shift. Your self-awareness starts to grow. At first it's uncomfortable, because you start seeing yourself more clearly. Not just your strengths, but your sensitivities, your patterns, your reactions. You notice it. The way you interpret certain behaviors. The way you assume intentions before fully understanding them. The way certain words carry more weight for you than they do for others. And instead of blaming everything outside of you, you start looking within. Not in a way that blames yourself, but in a way that seeks truth. You begin to understand that every trigger is an invitation to see yourself more honestly, to understand your emotional landscape more deeply, to recognize where you're still healing, where you're still growing, where you're still learning. And this awareness, it doesn't make things easier at first. In fact, it can make things feel even more intense, because now you're not just feeling things, you're understanding them. And that means you can't go back. You can't pretend you didn't notice. You can't ignore what's been revealed. You can't ignore it, because it's now part of your awareness. And with that awareness, something else begins to sharpen. Your intuition, that quiet voice inside you, that subtle feeling you used to question. It starts becoming clearer, stronger, more precise. You feel it. When something is off, even if everything looks fine on the surface, you feel it. When someone's words don't match their energy, you feel it. When a situation isn't aligned, even if you can't explain why. And this time, you don't dismiss it. You don't brush it off. You don't convince yourself you're overthinking. Because too many times, it's been right. Too many times, you ignored it and realized later, you should have trusted it. So now, you listen. Even when it doesn't make sense, even when it goes against logic, even when others don't understand it, you listen. Because it's become part of you. A guidance system that's always been there, but is now fully waking up. And the more you listen, the stronger it becomes. You notice it. How quickly you can read a situation now. How easily you can sense intentions. How naturally you pick up on energy shifts without needing words. It's not something you learned. It's something you uncovered. Through every test, every trigger, every moment that forced you to look deeper into yourself. And now, you're not the same person you were before. You still feel things. You still experience emotions. But there's space now. Space between feeling and reacting. Space between observation and judgment. Space that allows you to choose how you respond. And that space is power, because now When someone tries to provoke you, you feel it, but you don't lose yourself in it. When a situation triggers you, you notice it, but you don't let it control you. When your intuition speaks, you can't ignore it, and you don't want to anymore, because you've realized something important. This entire process, this discomfort, this intensity, these repeated tests, they weren't here to break you. They were here to awaken you, to bring you into deeper alignment with yourself, to sharpen your awareness, to strengthen your emotional control, to activate a level of perception that most people never reach. And yes, it's not always easy. There are still moments of doubt, moments of confusion, moments where everything feels overwhelming. But even in those moments, there's something different now. A quiet knowing, a steady presence within you, reminding you that you're not lost, you're evolving, you're not being targeted, you're being refined, you're not falling apart, you're waking up. And the more you embrace that, the more everything begins to make sense. Not all at once, but gradually, piece by piece, moment by moment, until one day you look back and realize you're no longer reacting the way you used to. You're no longer confused the way you once were. You're no longer disconnected from yourself, because now you feel it, you notice it, and you can't ignore it, because it's who you're becoming. Because what happens next reveals everything. This is where people expose themselves without realizing it. There comes a point in your journey, a quiet, almost invisible turning point, where things begin to expose themselves. Not because you went looking for the truth, not because you forced anything to come to light, but because something within you changed. Something became sharper, clearer, more aware. And once that shift happens, you start seeing things you can't unsee. You feel it, that subtle difference in people's energy, that unspoken tension behind their words, that gap between what they say and what they actually mean. You feel it before anything is proven, before anything is confirmed, before anyone admits anything. And yet, deep down, you already know, because this stage is about external exposure. This is where the masks begin to slip, not all at once, not dramatically, but in small, undeniable moments. Moments that make you pause, moments that make you question, moments that make you realize something isn't what it seemed. And this is where it begins. Fake people start slipping up. At first it's subtle, a contradiction in their story, a change in their tone, a reaction that doesn't match the situation. You notice it, that slight inconsistency, that moment where they say one thing but do another, that flicker of something just beneath the surface. You feel it, even if no one else reacts to it, even if everything continues like nothing happened. Because while others are focused on appearances, you're tuned into patterns, and patterns don't lie. You notice it, how their energy shifts depending on who's around, how their support feels conditional, inconsistent, temporary, how their words carry one meaning, but their actions reveal another. And that's when it hits you. They're not who they pretend to be. But here's the part that makes it powerful. You didn't have to expose them. You didn't have to confront them. You didn't have to prove anything. They reveal themselves without words, through timing, through behavior, through moments they didn't realize you were paying attention to. Because when your awareness reaches a certain level, people don't need to confess, they display, and the more you observe, the more the truth unfolds. Then comes the next layer. Hidden intentions become obvious. This is where things get deeper, because now, it's not just about what people do, it's about why they do it. You start seeing through the surface, through the smiles, through the compliments, through the conversations that once felt normal, but now feel calculated. You feel it, that certain people only show up when it benefits them. You notice it, how their energy changes when you're doing well versus when you're quiet. You can't ignore it. The way their words carry subtle weight, subtle pressure, subtle expectation. And suddenly, everything starts making sense. Why they asked certain questions, why they reacted in specific moments, why certain interactions felt slightly off, even when nothing seemed wrong. Because now, their actions start speaking louder, louder than their words ever could. And once you see it, you can't go back. You can't pretend it's not there. You can't convince yourself you're overthinking, because the clarity is too strong, too consistent, too real. And this is where many people struggle, because truth isn't always comfortable. It means accepting that not everyone around you was genuine. It means realizing that some connections were built on illusion. It means letting go of the version of people you thought they were. But at the same time, it gives you something powerful: discernment, the ability to see clearly without needing validation, the ability to trust what you feel without needing proof. And as this clarity deepens, something else begins to happen. Something just as important. The real ones start to show themselves quietly, naturally, without effort. Because while fake energy struggles to maintain itself, real energy stays consistent. You notice it. The people who don't change around you, the ones who don't feel the need to compete or impress or test you. You feel it. The calm in their presence, the honesty in their words, the steadiness in their support. There's no confusion, no mixed signals, no hidden agendas, just clarity. And that clarity feels different. It feels safe. It feels grounded. It feels real. You can't ignore it, the contrast between them and everyone else. Because now, your awareness has reached a point where you don't just see people. You read them. You read their energy. You read their intentions. You read the space between their words. And that changes everything. Because now, you're no longer guessing. You're no longer questioning your instincts. You're no longer confused by behavior that doesn't align. You simply observe. And what you observe reveals the truth, without force, without confrontation, without chaos, because truth doesn't need to be chased. It reveals itself when you're ready to see it. And that's where you are now. In a space where things are becoming clear, where masks are falling, intentions are surfacing, and energy is exposing what words tried to hide. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's undeniable. Because once you reach this level of awareness, there's no more pretending, not from others, and not from yourself. You see things as they are, not as you hoped they would be, not as they were presented to you, but as they truly exist. And yes, that can feel isolating at times. It can feel like you're seeing something others aren't, like you're understanding something deeper, while everything around you continues on the surface. But that's part of the process. Because this stage isn't about comfort. It's about clarity. It's about removing illusions, so you can move forward with truth. And the more you embrace that truth, the more aligned your life becomes. Because now, you're not surrounded by confusion. You're not held back by hidden intentions. You're not drained by fake energy. You're guided by what's real, by what's consistent, by what aligns with who you've become. So if you've been noticing it, the slip-ups, the inconsistencies, the quiet exposure happening all around you, don't ignore it. Don't second-guess it. Don't try to explain it away. Because this is the moment where everything starts to reveal itself. They reveal themselves without words. Their actions start speaking louder, and the truth finally steps out of the shadows, right in front of you, exactly where it's always been. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Something changes in you permanently. Because now you're no longer the same person they tested. If you've been tested, you're already different. And now, you're standing at a place you once couldn't see. Not because it didn't exist, but because you hadn't become the version of yourself who could recognize it yet. But now you do. Now you see it clearly. All the confusion, all the pressure, all the moments that made you question everything. They weren't random. They weren't attacks. They were confirmation. Confirmation that something within you is different. Confirmation that you're not moving like everyone else. Confirmation that you've been stepping into a higher version of yourself, piece by piece. You feel it. That quiet strength inside you. That calm awareness that doesn't shake easily anymore. That sense of knowing even when you can't explain it. And this is where everything shifts. Because now, you don't look at the tests the same way. You don't see them as obstacles. You don't see them as people trying to bring you down. You see them for what they truly are. Proof. Proof that you're evolving. Proof that your energy is being recognized. Proof that your presence creates impact. Whether people understand it or not, you start to realize it. If nothing ever challenged you, if no one ever reacted to you, if everything stayed comfortable and predictable, you wouldn't be growing. You wouldn't be expanding. You wouldn't be stepping into your true power. Because pressure is what reveals strength. Pressure is what builds resilience. Pressure is what transforms potential into reality. And you've been under pressure more than most people realize. Emotionally, mentally, energetically. But instead of breaking, you adapted. Instead of collapsing, you became aware. Instead of losing yourself, you found yourself. You feel it. That difference within you. The way you handle situations now. The way you respond instead of react. The way you observe instead of absorb. You notice it. How your mindset has shifted. How your emotional control has strengthened. How your awareness has expanded beyond what it used to be. You can't ignore it. You're not the same person anymore, and that's not something to question. That's something to own. Because this version of you was built through every test you faced. Every moment of confusion, every emotional trigger, every situation that tried to pull you out of yourself, it all shaped you. It all refined you. It all prepared you. So now it's time to stop doubting it. Stop questioning your journey. Stop wondering if you're imagining things, because you're not. You are aware. You are evolving. You are becoming. Say it to yourself. Let it settle within you. I am not being attacked. I am being revealed. Again. I am not being tested to fail. I am being tested to rise. Again. I do not lose control. I choose my response. Let that sink in. Because this is your foundation now. This is your identity. You are someone who doesn't break under pressure. You are someone who sees through illusion. You are someone who stands grounded, even when everything around you shifts. And that makes you powerful. Not in a loud way. Not in a way that needs attention, but in a way that is unshakable. You feel it. That calm confidence that doesn't need validation. You notice it. How you no longer seek approval the way you once did. You can't ignore it. That sense of certainty that stays with you, even in silence. This is what it means to step into your higher self. Not perfection, not having everything figured out, but having control. Control over your energy, control over your reactions, control over your focus. And with that control, you become untouchable. Not physically, not externally, but mentally, emotionally, energetically. Because nothing can disturb you, unless you allow it to, and you've learned how to stop allowing it. So when people test you now, you don't shrink, you don't react, you don't lose yourself. You understand, you observe, you remain grounded, because you know it's not about them. It never was. It's about you, your awareness, your evolution, and every test only confirms it further. So stand in that truth, own it, embrace it. Because this journey you've been on, this path that felt confusing, intense, isolating at times, it was leading you here, to this version of yourself. The one who doesn't fold under pressure. The one who doesn't get lost in reactions. The one who sees clearly and moves with intention. Say it again. I am strong. I am aware. I am in control. Let those words become real to you. Not just something you hear, but something you know. Because once you know it, Nothing can take it from you. And that's the truth most people never reach. But you have, so from this moment forward, walk differently. Think differently. Respond differently. Not because you're trying to prove something, but because you've already become something. Something grounded, something aware, something powerful. And no matter what comes next, no matter who tests you, no matter what situations try to challenge you, remember this: you are not being attacked. You are being confirmed. You are not being broken. You are being built. And you are not the same person anymore. You are stronger. You are sharper. You are awake. And once you truly step into that, you don't just survive the tests. You rise above them. Every single time.